don't have to upload it. I'll just record to the cloud for now. So yeah, casting my mind back on from what you just said. So this is where you're saying that there are any instances where we're pulling GraphQL not from Vue but from Haml. Is that or
It's
yeah?
just I'm not entirely sure what I'm trying to do here. I think actually when
Okay.
I dug into it more, I think it actually does end up in a Vue app at some point. But the breadcrumb that I was given for this is update the front end to use the GraphQL endpoint in this file. So I was looking around at this groups API file in VS Code. And everything else, all the other calls here are for just like REST API stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what it previously was here, what I've commented out. And so I was looking at, yeah, how do I actually call the GraphQL endpoint in here? And then I
Yeah.
traced this around a bit and I noticed that the fetch group pending members list is called in this actions JS.
Okay.
And this const fetch pending members list is called actually in the app, the Vue app. So it does end up in Vue.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I'm not sure how the pieces work together and how much of this actually needs to be changed to adapt it to use GraphQL, or if it's just that one group's API file.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, is there any other GraphQL going on already in this Vue app, or
Not that I saw. That I
I
am not
think
super
if
sure.
you search for the word Apollo, I think that like if there's any queries in here, and actually, to be honest, the imports at the top you can normally tell as well because it will normally be importing a .graphql file. Um, and
None.
I don't see that here. So you think now that you've kind of traced it back to this Vue file that it can just be kind of a normal Vue GraphQL thing, or
I
like we
have no
don't
idea.
like it doesn't really need to be in that actions JS, I guess, right?
Oh, so we could just bypass this, really?
I think so. Like I guess yeah, like is it doing anything?
So they fetch the pending members list from that group's API.
Oh, it's this interesting. Okay, it's this commit receive pending members error type shall alert. Yeah, I think this is. I want to say this is VueX. I'm never really. I never really got let's say the formal training or whatever to really understand. You know, where in the Vue file it had something about like map getters or map actions or map setters or something like map actions. Um, I've got a feeling that's still like VueX or something like that. But yeah, I would say why don't we just try and make it a normal like yeah, just how we would normally do it in GraphQL essentially. So we'll find out where this app is mounted. We'll see if VueApollo is being loaded. If it's not, then we'll add it. And we'll pass, I think we have to pass like where you do create default client or something like that and pass that into the Vue app when you mount it. And then we can just import the query in this Vue file and just kind of execute it the way we normally would, I guess.
So why was it originally set up like this? Is this the only other way to do it with the REST API? But
No,
why it seems a bit roundabout.
let me ask a robot friend. So the kind of question is when or why do we use actions.js in Vue.js with, was it map actions rather than, I don't know, just importing JavaScript functions directly, I guess. I have a feeling it is something to do with VueX. Yeah. So it is typically used in the context of VueX, which is a state management pattern and library for Vue.js. The use of actions.js with map actions instead of directly importing JavaScript has several key purposes: centralized state management, asynchronous operations, committing mutations, reusability and organization, maintaining convention. But essentially, my understanding is like VueX is, I don't know if it's old hat or whatever, but I don't think we're particularly encouraged to sort of use it going forward.
Okay.
So I know someone super awesome that will be able to better answer that question if you'd like a more fleshed out and official response. Natalia on the core team, and she's on the Vue core team as well. And anytime I've got any sort of Apollo Vue sort of things where I really just need a slightly better, I've managed to get something to work, but I don't understand why, or that sort of thing, then she's super helpful. So we can always ping her when we
Okay,
afterwards.
good to know.
But yeah, I would say, why don't we? So have you created your GraphQL query there already?
I did, I
Awesome.
think.
So oh yeah, but what was I saying before? Let's have a look where the Vue app is mounted, and see if we think that VueApollo, or the GraphQL client is available. So
Okay. How can I check that? I'm not super proficient in Vue yet.
yeah, so this one, I'm sure there's probably a simple way, but because it's just called app.vue, I'm not sure like there's a simple way, because normally I'd look for, like, let's say it was called like CRM contacts app.vue, then we could search for that reference and see where it's referenced and imported. In this instance, maybe I'd look in the folder that this file sits in and see if there's like an index.js in this folder. And we might be able to sort of work. So
I guess it's in the pending members here. Oh, this index maybe?
yeah, so let's have a look what that does. Yeah, this is it.
Pending
So
members
this,
app.
yeah, so this imports the component, and
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, so you can see it's using VueX, but there's no Apollo reference in there. Actually, there's a reference if you look when we mount the Vue app at the bottom, but we're just passing in an empty object on line 21.
Mm-hmm.
So we can either be good and look in the documentation, or we can be a bit cheaty and just find another similar kind of index.js where we're mounting a Vue app. I know we need to import, I think we need to import VueApollo and maybe create default client or something like that. So you could either just have a look in a random folder for a file, or you could do a quick grep for import VueApollo or something like that. Might be a good.
Let's see.
So while you're looking at
Yes.
that, let me do double due diligence. I'll have a quick search in our docs.
Mm-hmm.
GitLab development. VueApollo. I don't know if that's quite the right thing to. Oh, there's actually something about migrating from VueX. Let me just ping this to you so you can maybe open it up on the screen share
Oh,
so we can read it together. This might answer the questions that I just tried to
hmm.
answer.
Okay, we have defined GraphQL as our primary API for all user-facing features. So we can safely assume that whenever GraphQL is present, so will the Apollo client. We do not want to use VueX with Apollo, so the VueX stores count will naturally decline over time as we move from REST API to GraphQL. Okay.
I'm not sure. Like this seems to be how to migrate VueX as a whole, right? And a lot of this stuff not massively relevant. It's only the API bit. So I can see there's a on the table. Yeah. Let's see what that specifically talks about. Yeah, so even here it says, even if fair enough, if it's still REST, you could almost just move the code from the actions.js into the component. And that's kind of what we're talking about doing, but we're also changing to GraphQL. But then it says caching, Apollo, blah, blah, blah. We can use GraphQL query to structure how we want to receive the data. Okay. Is there anything after that, or is that a lot? No, we need to write a client-side resolver. Oh, okay, that's interesting, right? So I think this is where it's actually faking when it's saying GraphQL endpoint isn't available. So you kind of pretend it's GraphQL, but you then write a resolver that kind of fetches the data via REST and then makes it appear to come from GraphQL. But obviously, we haven't got any of that complexity because the data is already in GraphQL. Yeah, go a bit further, see if there's anything else. So what does this strategy say? Migrate away from static. Use provide inject. Replace simple with that. Replace with Apollo client. Yeah, that's what it says. Okay, so I mean that's not massively helpful, but it's just the first thing I stumbled across when I was searching for using VueApollo with in GitLab development. So
Okay.
I'm just trying to find create client because I suspect somewhere will have a little snippet that sort of says about how to usage in Vue. I think this is the one. Meanwhile, let's have a quick look. That probably matches what you've already found, but it's just nice when we've got documentation that backs up. Because I know before I found, oh, well, this is doing exactly what we want. Kind of copied it, modified it a little bit, and found out that's the old way of doing it. So yeah, we can basically see that we import VueApollo as well as the default client. We've got that view.use VueApollo. We then spin up the Apollo provider and pass it through when we mount the Vue app. That's pretty much what we need to do to make it available for us in the Vue component. And then we can kind of crack on from there, I think.
Okay. So let's see. So we'll do that in the pending members index.js.
Exactly.
JS this here.
And did that match that other one? I think it matched that other one that you
I think
had
so. Yeah, they import Vue, they create default, or they create.
Oh, that's subtly different, isn't it? Because this one's actually importing default client, and default client, I don't quite know what it's doing in there. Whereas the import is subtly different. So if you want to copy it from the docs, is probably slightly faster, but
okay, let's just take all of that and see what we use. Okay, so we import Vue from Vue.
so it even looks like the VueX import is kind of disallowed, if that makes sense, because they've had to put like a linen bypass on there. So it really does show that we're trying to phase it out.
Oh, that's already up there, actually.
Yep. Yeah, on line 11, I would probably paste so take your line. That's it. Yep.
This guy.
I don't need to tell you. You know what you're doing.
Well, Okay, and then do we actually want this? Yes, we need the Apollo provider. That
Absolutely.
looks fine. Are we getting rid of VueX then entirely?
No, I don't. I think there's still a lot of stuff happening in VueX. Maybe depending on how we do for time, we'll have a nose at what else is in there. But
Okay, so that's everything. But then we're going to want to pass something else in instead of
yeah, so
just the
if
empty
you just
parameter.
remove the curly braces and the colon or semicolon, I always get them confused. Then that will basically pass the Apollo provider directly with the alias Apollo provider, essentially. So you should be good to now start using using GraphQL VueApollo, whatever you want to call it, inside app.view. So
Oh,
I guess we need to import the GraphQL query in here. Again, if you want to refer to, like, here's one I prepared yet, which it looks like you've got one.
like import this down here, I think. Pending
Looks
members.
good to me. Is the path still?
Oh, is it the same? That's a good question. Where did I put it? I wasn't sure where to put it. App, assets, JavaScript, API queries, pending members. Query. Is that a good place for this to live?
So, good question. It depends where, if this is a reusable query or not. If it's not, I would normally put it pretty much alongside the view component. But if this is reusable, I mean, that seems a very generic path, if you know what I mean. App assets. Is this only an EE feature then, or?
It is, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what do you mind giving me just the tiniest of background of what pending members is about then?
Oh, yes, totally. So basically, when you go to a group and then you look
Yep.
at the list of members, you can have these would be pending members. So if you invite a member, that's one way to create one.
And you can
Pending
only
member.
do that in enterprise.
I think you can have pending members, or actually, yes, I think it is on the enterprise.
Because I would expect being able to invite people by email address to be a community edition feature.
That is a good question. Why is this only pending
Is
members?
the actions.js file in EE?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. We'll keep it there for the moment. Yeah, but I will be interested to see, unless maybe there's a CE version of it as well. I don't know. Maybe the EE version's just got a few extra bells and whistles or something. But oh no, that's fine. That's possibly why there's not much in that folder. If that folder that you put it in, which is like quite generic, because like I say, it's just, in fact, yeah, I wouldn't. How about, should we put it alongside the view component for the moment, and then
Yeah.
we can move it if we feel the need at a later stage, or even if someone else wants to use it at some point, they could potentially. Yeah, and the kind of convention I've seen has varied, but yeah, that's what I've sort of seen, like that maybe a GraphQL folder. So you can just drop it for now alongside it. Yeah, just pop it in with components for the moment.
Hmm.
If you then end up with 2 or 3 or 4 GraphQL queries, then I'd normally create a GraphQL folder and start. Although it did look like there were some folders called queries as well, so maybe we've not got a great best practice to find for that. But just being the one for the moment, and now you can change your reference to just, I guess, reference the file in the sort of current directory. Awesome. So it's happy with the path, but it's just not happy that it's not being used yet. So
Mhm.
again, we want to find a random page that does a simple GraphQL query. So
Maybe find where this is used. Or no, that was different. Another index.js.
might be using it, but no, you do want a view. I'm just trying to think if let me have a quick look if I've got one to hand. Thinking of some of my CRM ones, but I can't remember how whether they're super complex or not. Yeah, that's a nice one. Search for contacts route. ROOT, sorry.
Ah. Contact routes.
That's it. So in there you can see on line 39 where you've got the Apollo thing.
Oh,
So if we take that down to line 60, there's actually two queries in there. So yeah, you could, yeah, either or. And then we'll simplify this significantly, I think, when we pop it in.
okay. So this is this dot fetch pending members list. Maybe this is where it would have to go.
Well,
Or- oh, you
so,
put it at the top first.
yeah, just pop it. It's its own sort of section, if that makes sense.
Okay. Maybe just like here.
You can put it just above created, like so it's next to where you want to use it almost at the moment. So I would actually probably get rid of that created block entirely now because the Apollo query will automatically run um, when like the component is mounted. We need to add, I think, another closing curly brace at the end because there were two Apollo queries in the file that you copied this from, and we just copied the
Right.
first Apollo query. And then the comma after. Perfect. Awesome. So we can update the query to whatever you've called your one.
Did I call it get pending members query? Okay.
And then are there any, I think there was at least one variable that we needed to pass in. Group path.
Yes. Group pass. I don't know fully what I'm doing here.
You can just kind of replace everything inside that return object just with
With
group
this
path.
stuff. Oh,
So these are all the parameters, all the variables, arguments that you need to pass to the GraphQL query. So we only need to pass one. So if you just put group path in here, get rid of all of this. And I think it was just group path, right? Not group full path.
right.
Um, oh, I'm a little bit confused. Let me just have a look back at yeah, so sorry, I've lost my screen for a second. Yeah, so we don't want the variables method shouldn't have an argument there.
Oh, oh, we just put the group. What is
So we've got to find if the group path is available to like have we got access to the group path somewhere or what props have we got in this component? Or is there anything injected into this component?
um,
So we've got
Do member.path, member.group path.
Open this up on my machine quickly. So it's pending members components at view. Okay, so okay, interesting. It's got no props and it doesn't seem to have any injected stuff whatsoever. So how does this? How does it know? Viewed. Right, so it gets namespace, name, namespace, ID from the state. I know this is going to fail, but let's just try this dot namespace ID, where it's this dot group path at the moment. And let's get rid of the error and the update blocks entirely for now. And we'll change the contacts alias to pending members. Awesome. And is your GDK up and running? Can we try and like hit that thing and see how catastrophically it fails? If you
I
bring
think
up
so.
if you bring up the developer tools and the network tab, then we'll be able to hopefully see the GraphQL query being made and throw in the error. Whether we will or not, or if it explodes more catastrophically than that, I don't know.
Unless I've got the page wrong.
So
Still seems to be working though.
So if you, in the filter box at the top there, if you put GraphQL, that's normally how I sort of,
Oh,
so it's not that. There would normally be a request to just GraphQL. So I wonder, so although I don't think this would only be for EE, if somebody requests access themselves, I
hmm.
think that's what pending members are. So could you go into your admin area, impersonate a random user, and then request access to this? Is this a public group or not?
This I don't know. I
Well,
can double
we'll
check.
find a public one anyway, and we'll request access to it. And I think that might be what then makes pending members appear.
If I run the actual query though, for example, like the GraphQL query that is merged, that's who pops up,
Oh,
the members
interesting.
on that list.
Okay. So where or how is it getting that data? Um, I'm still really curious about it being an EE in the EE folder because I don't feel like that's an EE feature. Let's see. You found where it was being mounted, didn't you? So, um, JS pending members app. Let me have a look where that's pending members. Ah, interesting. This is in quotas. So, we might have to enable something. Sorry, I've sent you down a rabbit hole there. We don't need to do any impersonating.
No? Okay.
I don't think so anyway. Um, We might need to switch to SAS mode, but let's have a look first of all. So if you go back into Twitter group, for example.
Alrighty.
And then under settings, I think it would be, we're looking for usage quotas. Yeah, it's not there, is it? I think we need to probably switch to SAS mode to see usage quotas, because it's more of a thing that you get on .com, you know, where you can see, have you got a license applied to this? Oh, presumably you have actually.
That's a great question. I don't know, but I know how to hack it. I could enable that.
How can we tell if you've got it? How can we tell? So I don't know if I'd expect you to
I
have some
know.
security.
Merge trains. We could look at if that's enabled, because I believe that's only a
Yeah, that sounds good.
EE feature.
And to be honest, if we just go back into the admin area, I think it tells us on the first admin screen anyway whether we've got a license applied.
Oh. Okay, maybe I don't actually.
Yeah, I'm thinking there doesn't seem to be a lot on this screen.
Where would the license be shown?
I had a feeling it was at the top. Let me just have a look. I'm not actually running EE. Sorry, my GDK is not running, but I'll just have a look on a self hack. Yes, I've got an admin dashboard, a license overview at the top. So I don't think you've got it licensed, but let's enable the SAS thing anyway. I don't know. We'll find out. We probably will need a license, but we'll enable that anyway. Let me send you a link, which you might already have anyway. Emulates. Um, should have a link in the chat. Should scroll down to
Export this environment.
Yeah, so if you export that environment variable, then do a GDK stop and a GDK start.
Okay, let's do this. Let's create an env run it
Or
file.
yeah, that way if you're more comfortable.
Is there a better way to do it?
Well, I would potentially just do it in a terminal, but that env.run it's quite a good way to do it because it ensures that if you like reboot your machine or you stop and start from a different terminal or whatever, that it will persist.
Do I have to do that in the GDK folder?
Let me just reread quickly. So it says you can create an env.runit file in the root of your GDK. Yes.
So that's all I need to do.
Yeah, you can do it like that. Yeah. And this is the bit where we'll figure out if we need the license or not.
That's just taking a minute.
Yeah. I really need to invest in my terminal. Everyone that I work with has fancy, colorful, like, helpful stuff that gives them like timings and shows them what version of Ruby they're using and all sorts of crazy stuff. And mine's just black and white vanilla.
You just use the one that comes with a Mac, or did you
I
download like
think
iTerm?
so. No, I think I use the one. I sometimes use iTerm that somebody suggested I have a look at, but I don't think it's a terminal, is it? It's the shell that I need to like. I know people have talked about like fish and oh my ZSH and
Oh yeah. Oh
all
my
those
Zeesh.
kind of things, but I've just never really got around to experimenting.
I do have a way to hack the license. I don't know
We'll
if you
see
want
if
that in the recording.
it may or may not be like so. So first of all, we'll see what happens when it comes up if we can actually access the setting because like we set that environment variable, we restart GDK, and then there's a setting in admin that we need to enable, and then we should be kind of good from there. But we'll see if that setting's visible. If it's not, then we'll consider doing that quick patch or yeah. Come on, GDK.
Let's just see pending member.
Oh yeah. Meanwhile, I can go to something actually, and if I can find that screen, um, then I can share my screen quickly and just show you where I think it is.
Hmm. All right, well, it did load.
Awesome. So if we go into the admin area, and it's under settings and general. Then
I
it's
have a
under,
separate question.
yeah, go on.
So I enabled Docker with my GDK to be able to run runners within GDK.
Okay.
And I used Kalima for that according to the documentation. Do I always have to have Kalima running or could I like power that down? Or is that going to ruin the whole thing and I'll have to regenerate the snapshot every time?
I have not used Kalima, so I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the full ins and outs, to be honest. I depend. So if just quick go to account and limit, I think is the
Yes.
this is under, and then is that allow use of E license features if you tick that and save settings. Yeah, I went the basic runner stuff that I've wanted to do in the past, just to kind of create fake pipeline data and things like that. I've always just run runner on my MacBook um, and used the shell as an executor. So
Hmm.
I've not needed Docker. Are you actually running the runner inside Docker, or are you just using Docker to? Okay.
I believe it
Um,
is run in it because it's supposed to be safer and less risky. Like if you run it a script that like a script you don't fully understand and it's on your MacBook, then you risk some security problems. But if it's within Docker, then it's okay.
yeah, maybe. I think as long as you register the register to use Docker, so what you so like I say, the way I've done it is bad if you're not careful because you're using your MacBook shell and you're executing
Yeah.
stuff natively, but you could install the runner natively, but you could set the shell, like oh sorry, the executor to use Docker. So that way runner's running on your machine, it won't execute any code on your machine because it will spin up a Docker image and it will
Gotcha.
execute the code inside Docker. In which case, you would definitely be able to shut Kalima, or I use Rancher Desktop. Obviously, you've got Docker Desktop. There's plenty of tools that you can
Hmm.
use. Um, So now if you go to the Twitter group, it's a question of whether you actually see anything. We might need to make some more tweaks still, but so what's under settings at the moment? So we've still not got anything under there. Might be because we need the license, but let's go back to the admin page again quickly and find the group in the admin page.
Okay.
I think it's under overview at the top and groups. And then Twitter, I think you're looking at. I think this might be where it sort of says, oh, hang on a minute, you haven't got a license, so you can't apply a license to the group. But we'll have a look. Edit, I guess. And then there's plan about halfway down the screen. And this is the moment of truth.
Okay, plan, no plan. Where'd it go?
So if you set that to ultimate, be amazed if it works, but we'll try it anyway.
Oh, group is successfully updated.
And then try again, going
Plan.
back to the group as a normal user, so to speak.
Let me just screenshot so I remember where this is.
We
Okay, go back to the group again.
got better. We got recording, you know?
Oh, that's true, actually. That's a good point. Do me one better.
So I don't think, looking at this, that you've got any additional menu. So I think at this point we need a license. If I just pause it for a second. Let's see if it's
Yeah, I need to
loaded.
GDK stop and start again.
You
Oh,
shouldn't do. You got any new option? Yes, you got usage quotas.
nice.
Now, this
Okay.
I think is where our component's being loaded, but I don't know more specifically than that at the moment. But once that loads, I guess
I go into
we'll
usage quotas.
yep.
Sorry.
So I found like essentially there's like app views, groups, usage quotas, and then there's a file called pending members, which mounts the view app, etc. So hopefully, don't know if you want to. There you go. That seems reassuring that we're getting an error,
Oh,
because it's trying to do something. If you bring up the console again, and we'll look at that error message in a minute when it pops up,
yeah.
etc. We'll figure out
Nice.
why it's doing what it's doing, etc. So I think you've still got something in that JavaScript file where you were
Oh, you're
maybe trying to
right.
implement something in there and didn't get rid of it.
I think you're right. I still imported here. Okay, and then this, I should just revert this probably. What do you think? Put this back the way it was.
Yeah, or remove that method for the time being. I mean, it's so easy to. We love Git, right?
True.
Hopefully,
Okay.
because that's just a front end change. Hopefully, that will reload a bit more quickly on the
Okay.
browser. So again, I'd suggest we keep like the inspector up and the network tools, and maybe add that filter in for GraphQL again. Awesome. So we've got some good stuff here. The page is loaded. It's made a GraphQL request, and the GraphQL request is 500 errors. So if you click on that GraphQL request, we should be able to see a bit more detail. Oh, sorry, you're already on there, aren't you? So is it on the request tab? I'm less familiar with Firefox, even though I know it's basically the same. Sorry, down the bottom of the screen, I think the
Oh,
request
there we are.
tab, and that will hopefully show us the payload. I don't know if you need to expand. Oh, this is really confusing. Yeah, and I feel like we're in a weird nested. I think you can. I think you adjust the size of where it says filter request parameters. I think you can drag down. I don't know how to explain it now. I think there's an
Oh,
no, there
this.
it is. Sorry, yeah. That's exactly it. So we can see what it's doing. Variables, yeah. So it's passing namespace 35, and if we look at the
I see.
response on the response tab, just next to the request tab, it'll probably be well. Okay, that's interesting. JWT error. Okay, that's completely not what I expected. I expected a GraphQL error complaining about interesting. Something's trying to I don't know much about this, but I know we've got a website called something like customers.gitlab.com. And
Okay.
it's like a customer portal. And obviously, because what you're looking at now is a SaaS feature, I guess maybe there's something in GitLab that's like phoning home, or you know what I mean? Like we're on gitlab.com and it's trying to connect to customers.gitlab.com to do something. So yeah, interesting. But why would GraphQL why would because you can run that GraphQL query yourself in
This guy.
graphical. Yeah. And it runs. So, but when you go back to, here, you get that explosion. Have you ever tried, I don't know how easy it is to do this, to try and copy or mutate this request? Like what I'm interested to know is if we fix the full path, will this query run successfully? Like if we can right click, and I'm sure there's like a way to.
Oh, in here?
I think if you right click on the left hand panel where the GraphQL query is, I think we can like do a copy. Um, mm, edit and resend. That's what we want, I think.
Oh, cool.
And I think in here, is there any way to modify the actual request? So in the body, if you can find where it's got the variables defined, which will probably be like sort of
There we
right
are.
at the right hand side. Oh no, there you go. You found it already. So namespace. Oh, why is it called namespace ID?
That's because that's what we called it, I think.
Can you go back to yeah, but if you look on the left hand side, it's group path.
Oh,
So it
did
should be
I?
alias in the namespace ID. There's group.
Nothing here.
Oh. Um, sorry, this is different, completely different GraphQL query. This is get subscription permission data. Okay, so it makes total sense that this query is trying to go to customers.gitlab.com. So this isn't, we haven't quite got to where our GraphQL query is.
Okay.
Supposed to, so we got to figure out, I don't know if you want to just shrink this, what's it again? So yeah, how do we get to? We've got seats, pipelines, and storage. So let me just have a. Are any of these depending
No.
Okay, let me just keep digging backwards then. So on usage quotas, we've got index. Interesting. Members. Okay, this is even more alarming. I'm not even convinced at this moment in time that this page is used.
This whole Vue app?
Yeah. Um,
Oh.
so I hope I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. If you, so where did we go? So we know that this Vue app is being mounted from the index.js that you've got open in a couple of tabs along in your
Mhm.
VS Code. So if you then grep for um, how did I grep for that? No, I can't remember how I got back back a step. Oh, that's it. Because if you look, this is mounting, can you see on line 17? We're mounting this into the container with the ID JS pending members app.
Mm-hmm.
So I then grepped for that. And that should be found on a HAML page down the bottom. So this is the only place I think that it's being used because the JavaScript we just looked at is basically looking for this element on a page and injecting the Vue app into this sort of DOM element.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the HAML. And then, but then I grepped for, maybe it's not, maybe renders the wrong term, but we kind of need to now find which HAML page is including or referencing this HAML page, if that makes sense. So maybe you can do a slightly better grep. I grepped for render dot star pending underscore members. But maybe there's other ways of like including a partial that don't kind of work. You've not got your regex enabled at the moment, don't
Oh.
think. But yeah, alas, I found nothing anyway. Or I've only found it in specs. So,
Oh yeah.
oh, but if there's still specs, so what are these specs actually doing? Usage quotas controller. Ah,
Namespace user cap.
it's expecting the rendered page to have a link to view pending approvals. Right. So, God, we'll get there in the end. Right now, can you do what I suggested we did earlier and impersonate a user and request access to the group? Then I think we'll finally be there. So, yeah, I'm
Okay,
still
let's do it.
interested if is that a public group?
All right, I'll just take Amberly Davis.
Cool.
Personate. Oh no,
If
I
it's
clicked
not
the
a
wrong thing.
public group, if it's not a public group, we'll just have to pick a different group, and then we'll just have to license that group quickly from the admin panel as well. We'll get there in the end.
Okay. I'm impersonating her, so we want to go try to request to join the Twitter group.
Yep. So I think these are the only public ones. Although I'm still a little bit on the fence because I know when you run that query, it came back with those. Oh no, it is public. Okay. It came back with those invited ones. So we'll see.
Okay, requested access.
Awesome.
Now we can stop impersonating
Yeah.
and come back to this page.
Yeah.
Okay. And there should be a link to view pending approval somewhere.
That's what I was expecting. So what's it saying? Whether there's like a sidekick, like a background worker or something that's let's try and dig a little bit more. So we found the spec. Um, get pending numbers.
Oh, wait, maybe this is
Ah,
about
okay.
billing.
Right. So when the number of billable users reaches a cap, any new members will be put in. Okay. Okay. Um, so
Seats tab. This is the seats tab.
so so I think we've got unlimited seats. So I think we need to go and set the limit to 6, maybe in admin.
Okay. Put the limit to 6.
We're learning a lot today.
Yes, I don't play in the admin that much usually.
Well, especially this. This is something that obviously only like, well, no one would ever really do because this is only a SaaS thing, right? So on the edit, was there somewhere to set the number of seats? Got compute quota. Um, so would expect it to be where you select the plan, to be honest. Um,
Is the number of seats related to the plan though?
yes, it's not exactly, but I would expect they're in the same place because I would have thought where you set what, like, okay, this group has got 100 seats of ultimate, this group has got 5 seats at premium, this group has
Mm,
got, that's where I'd expect it to be. So yeah, I don't, like I say, because this is a SaaS thing, I don't know where. I'm gonna have a look myself quickly. Yeah, see, where does it get that from? Because I'm looking at a group on GitLab.com. I almost get the impression that it's getting that data from customers.gitlab.com,
oh,
um, which is going to be problematic. Um, just have a quick grep for something. Seats in subscription. Just trying to figure out where it's getting this data from. Seats in subscription. Oh God, it's VueX again. Uh, statics. Um, so it gets computed. Seats in subscriptions in computed. Stay. See.
Oh, it does look like to add seats, you have to go to the customer portal.
Yeah. So that's where there's this disconnect. I'm almost having a look, like not quite ready to give up, but there's I'm trying to find where those things are getting, because at the moment it's saying unlimited, and I don't know if that's because when it makes the GraphQL query, it errors. What was could you go back to the page where it's making the GraphQL query? I think you've still got GraphQL query on the right hand, right? So it's doing get subscription permission data. I wonder if we can find out where that's been. Get subscription permission data. Can add seats, can renew community plan. I don't think it's getting it from there, to be honest. It's not actually got the number of seats. Where is it getting that from? Have a quick look. So I've got access to a group, GraphQL, that's licensed, and I'll be able to see, get custom emoji, get AI messages, get subscription data, and that returns subscriptions. User, yeah, but that doesn't return the number of seats. So where is the number of seats?
Is it the seats used?
Let me just flip back to yours. Seats.
Versus seats owned.
It wouldn't be that. It would be so let me just see what I grepped for a minute ago. I'll go back. I don't think I can actually. There was some wordage that was on the screen. So I searched for seats in subscription as like a sentence, if that makes sense, rather than that's it. Because that's on that usage quotas page, that's what comes up. I guess we probably want to look, for like a start.view page, maybe. not 100% if it's Vue or
Doesn't seem like there's any Vue apps.
interesting. What I
Well, these
found,
just look like locales.
I didn't. Let me just go back to mine again. Subscription. There's a normal API, but I doubt it's using that. Okay, so this. Right, so there's a feature spec. I found it a minute ago. Maybe I found it in like a state file or something like that. Subscription seats. Right, I think I was looking at subscription seats.view.
Mm-hmm.
So in here, let me just have a look if this has got, so it's got seats in subscription. Look, total seats available, seats in use. Oh, yeah, we've got pending members. I feel like we're kind of maybe getting somewhere. Should show pending members alert. Okay. Can you find should show pending members alert?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Yeah. If you or just set that to true or remove that VIF line, so this alert should always show. Probably hugely optimistic here.
Why is this? Right there.
I'm wondering if now when you hit that page, is it gonna it might just this might just be an alert message. But I'm wondering if it was maybe a button that then allows you to view the list of pending members.
Shoot, I went to the wrong page.
How did you end up trying to solve this problem?
Oh man, I don't know. I picked up that GraphQL issue because I wanted to do that. I didn't realize it was EE, but then once I started, I was like, all right, I'll see it through.
Okay.
And then there was this second piece that was the view or the actually using the GraphQL endpoint. And since I made the endpoint, I was like, man, we should use it.
Nice. Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, if
Uh,
you go back to
okay.
settings and usage quotas, I think you're going to see a warning message now to say that
Yes. View
yes,
pending
and what
approvals.
happens when you click the button?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Is there an error in the console? Don't know. Let's look for that button. View pending.
Oh, view warning, error in view handler type error destination is null.
Oh, what was that? Sorry. Is that when you're clicking the button that's coming up, or
I think so. Let me try again. Yeah. Destination is null.
interesting? Try and find out where that pending members a message. Oh, it's a bit confusing, isn't it? Because it says you have 0 pending members that need approval.
Hmm. But we added a pending member, so
Well, that's the thing. I think there's a confusing terminology here. So from what we read, I think the pending members it's referring to here are pending not because they've not been approved to access the group, but pending because you've reached the maximum number of licensed users, and if any more get approved, then you're going to go over your quota. That's the impression I get. But it's that unlimited thing. I was trying to figure out where that's coming from because hacking this message just to appear clearly isn't really enough. we kind of need to find out where this unlimited's coming from. So we can, like, if it's just a value in Rail in like the database, that we can just use the Rails console and set a limit. But if it's trying to get this data from customers.gitlab.com, but it can't connect and therefore it's just defaulting to unlimited, I doubt that would be the case though. That's why I was trying to figure out where there's a map state that's getting seats in subscription. But then I was looking at the state.js and I have no idea how that really works. Subscription seat. Oh, there's a subscription seat. No, that's what we're already looking at.
I wonder if any other group has a different number of seats, because we messed with the
think because we have
license and things. Oh yeah, this one's also unlimited.
Yeah. Sure, it shouldn't be that hard for us to figure out where that's coming from. Have you got Vue DevTools installed?
Oh, I don't think I do. I could get it though.
Might be worth it for future anyway, but I was just wondering if we could have a look. There's a way you can sort of hover over and click on a specific element on the page, and we can even manipulate the view data if we want to.
It's just this, something you actually download, or is it an extension?
It's an extension, yeah. So I imagine, I don't know, yeah, how you access the sort of browser extension store thing.
It might be this.
Managed to get the button to show, but when you click on the button, but I can't even see where the button's coming from, to be honest. Did the button say something like view pending members?
It did.
So I can't even find that by grepping.
View pending approvals.
Ah. Okay, that looks like that's not coming from. See, if I'm to believe it, it doesn't look like it looks like that's a camera component, which is even more confusing. Link to pending users link.
Where do the dev tools usually show?
So if you close this, is this still open from before? If you close this and then right click and inspect, then I think that'll show up.
Ah.
I hope so anyway.
Ah, yes, you're right. Okay, got it.
But I am confused because I'm not. Yeah, I'm just confused. But yeah, so you know that little target icon in the kind of top right hand corner.
This guy, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
And now if you hover over the button or yeah, whatever, then you should be able to see kind of where that's coming. So it's from the subscription seats, which is what we're looking at, right? Subscription seats, yeah. Can't see a GL button in there though. What am I busy being a bit dim here? Because it's saying it's Primary action, navigate to pending members page. Right. What does navigate to pending members page do?
Oh,
Because
visit
yeah,
URL this
alert,
dot
it's got a
pending members.
button. Right. Visit URL this dot pending members page path. Right. Okay. And where is that supposed to come from? Pending members
Computed.
page path. It's coming from the state. Maybe there's a spec with fake paths. That's not helpful. Members page. Okay. Can you bring up a Rouse console? I'm going to try. Going to give up at half past if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
I feel like we've sort of made progress, but yeah. How do we manage to pick the most like obscure randoms?
I didn't think this was going to be so complicated and so much of a rabbit hole.
Right. So if you type, oh God, no, I've got to remember how to do this. I can't remember how you get to these helpers now. Can you try doing? I'll try and copy and paste something, but I don't know whether this is. Groups. Complete rubbish, but try what I've pasted into the console. If it works, then we'll find the right group ID and go from there. But if it doesn't, then I might have another idea. Okay.
Looks like it might not be the worst.
Yeah, maybe getting hopeful, but try. But you know, I know what it's going to do. Okay, ignore that. I've got one more. I think I might know how to. Do you remember how to get is it a private extend override? Yeah, that should be available. Do you know how to, you know, you can hit a GDK URL that's something like /root/info or something like that. Do you know, are you familiar with that? Or
I'm
slash
not.
rails/roots or something? Let me see if I can Google it quickly.
To get all of the routes listed, you mean?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think you can just do rake routes. Or
I think
I
it's
have it.
got the path. I think it's like your GDK root/rails/info/roots. Sorry, in just a web browser.
Oh, also. Okay. Slash.
Rails/info/roots, and this time roots with yeah.
Oh,
Just
yeah,
to be
nice.
fun. And now if we search for what was the root that we were looking for, pending underscore members underscore group underscore usage. Sorry, pending members group
Group.
usage. Try that and see if it filters. Does that come up with any? I never quite know how this thing, if this does or doesn't. Doesn't look like it's done any filtering. Can you hit enter? Do you need to search after?
Hit enter, it just doesn't do much, does it?
Okay, try just copying and searching on the screen for that phrase, if that makes sense.
Oops. Okay, one, there it is.
Right. Okay, is it that easy? So the URL that we were at before, so if you go back to the previous tab, yeah, that's it. I think all you need to do is replace the hash seats quota whatever with / pending members.
Oops. Is that what it was?
I think
Oh,
it
it's
was.
a hash, sorry.
No, it would. I don't think it is a hash.
No?
I don't think so. No, because a hash is
Oh,
an
that's
anchor.
what we were on before.
Um, yeah, if you go back to that roots listing again, so it's saying groups / group ID dash. Yeah. And go back to that groups group ID. Usage quota / pending _members. I do wonder whether you could try like .json or something like that, but I don't think it's.
Hmm.
I think. I don't know if it's returning a 404 because have a look. So that'd be the usage control, usage quotas controller, and pending members. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to send you another link.
Mm-hmm.
Zoom. Oh God, what have I done? Send you another link somewhere. Nope, isn't that wrong? This file. Right. In this, if you have a look, there's a definition for the pending members. If you render for, if I just maybe remove that line entirely or comment it out, save that.
And then try to hit that route again.
Yeah. Still think it might explode because it doesn't like have any data, but
Oh, actually,
and is it making a GraphQL query?
um, not yet.
Yes. What's the GraphQL query that it's making? So in the request tab.
Oh, right. Oh, this looks
That's the
like the one I wrote.
one.
Yes. Oh,
That's the
good
one.
find.
And if you look in the response, I'm assuming that it's
No.
okay. So what we're not requesting. I think you have to ask for errors back if you want to see like why it hasn't worked, if that makes sense. But I think we kind of know why because oh actually no, I suppose it hasn't really errored. It's just returned a null because yeah, I don't know if it would have returned an error or not. Could you just modify the GraphQL file quickly, the query in VS Code? just to include errors in the, I think it's errors are top level, right? So it'd need to be, yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. And then just reload that page. I've maybe just got you far enough to be able to find the page.
Yeah.
Um,
But
but
I have a
go on.
question then. Do you think that this query that grabs pending members, it's grabbing is it grabbing the right thing? Is this even the right query we would want to use here?
I'm not sure it is, to be honest, but I guess
I'm
we'll
pretty
find
sure
out in a minute because we'll
it
have a look at what the previous like API endpoint was that it was calling.
it did the same exact thing and when I checked and when I implemented it, it would return the same data,
Okay, okay.
which is odd.
Yeah, that is confusing, isn't it? I mean, maybe there's different reasons members can be penned in.
Oh, maybe I put the errors in the wrong place.
Oh, maybe errors is a mutation thing. It's so long since I've done. Yeah, maybe you don't have errors. Maybe errors are only on mutations, not on queries. Um, okay.
Oh, there's some good
So
errors,
can we
but
try
it's
hard coding for a minute? So if we remove, yeah, but that's mutation, isn't it? So if we remove errors from there, and if we go into our app.view
Mhm.
and where the variables where we set this namespace ID or whatever it was, if we just hard code like single quotes, Twitter, was it Twitter? I think it's called Twitter, wasn't
Yeah.
it? And then reload the page and see what happens. I think it's still going to fail because where the data was going before is different to where we're storing it now, if that makes sense. So we're making the query, we're getting the data back. So have a look if that GraphQL query is actually returning data now.
Oh,
Perfect, it is.
nice.
Now you need to sort of translate, transpose, whatever you want to call it, that data into something that the component can use in a similar way to how it was using it before, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So let me just have a quick look. So this was, what was this? App.view. So pending members, what was it? It was the creative, wasn't it? You were looking. So expect pending members list. Which basically returned that groups API.fetch. Then, yeah, okay, it's committed. Oh, I don't know if we will need to use VueX or if we can change. So can we, so if we look in the app.view, what do we actually do? Is loading. Do you know work out how the table items map get table items? It's coming from door. Where was it? Getters, table items, state.members. So you kind of need to know what the data looks like, if that makes sense. So what I would probably do, I get the impression that the fetch pending members list populates something called table items. Table items. Yeah, state.members. Let me just go back to state quickly. Members with actions. View. Data headers. Receive pending member success. Yeah, that. Yeah. Cool. Right. I think I'm safe to do so. I'm going to try sharing my screen just for a second, if that's okay, just because I do have to
Yeah,
run in a sec. I'll just try and show you
no worries.
the last little bit of the puzzle that I think I've managed to piece together. So in our, oh, my battery is also nice and low. That's not going to last very long. So in our app, we're using getters that there's a table somewhere down here, or a div that's looping through something called table items. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
right, where's table items coming from? It's coming from this getters.js. And all
Mm-hmm.
it's really doing is grabbing state.members.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, right, okay, where do we populate state.members? Well, in the mutations, we're kind of mapping this receive pending members success. That's where we're populating state.members with data.
Mm-hmm.
I would be tempted to do something like a console.log data in there, like almost revert your code or switch to master. Or you could just put a breakpoint in Chrome or Firefox and put breakpoint and see what the structure of the data is, because data that comes back from the REST API is structured a little bit differently to data that comes back from the oh, sorry, I don't know which one I said there, but GraphQL and REST data will be in a very slightly different shape. So you might need to do a little bit of manipulation.
Mm.
But
So
you
that'll show
can
me what it's currently returning so I can manipulate the GraphQL data to be the
exactly,
same.
and you can see that basically it's setting state.members to that, state.total to that, state.blah. So state.members is what table items is grabbing. So if you can kind of match the format of the data, then you can do away with, you don't need to use the state for this anymore. Instead, you can basically, in your Apollo query, so I'll go to contacts root, update and data is you can define like your mapping and how you want to convert the data that comes back from the GraphQL query, like what shape you want to map it to. And you can do that, and it will basically, where you've defined what you've called it here is what you'll be able to then access, like this dot contacts or this dot pending members or whatever. So you can replace where you're currently referencing table items, you can change that to be like pending members. Or if you want it to remain table items, then we just change the name of the query to
Mm-hmm.
table items. And we make sure that the data that like in here, that we do something like, I guess it'd be like data dot, and it might be something like pending members dot nodes dot map, and then you know what I mean, right? So just to
Mm-hmm.
transform the data into the shape that it's currently getting. That's not going to do everything, because you've still got something that's reading from state.total, state.page, state.perpage, state.is loading, etc. So there's quite a lot of stuff tied to VueX. So I guess we need to kind of try and figure out, like, is it possible to just move this bit without moving everything else?
Mm-hmm.
We might want to or need to do something where, like, this state.members referenced anywhere else in our actions. It doesn't look like state.members is referenced then. State.total. Interesting. reference either. So we've got we doing action, state, and getters. And from the state. Oh, okay, so we're getting all these things in here, so that's fine. That's awesome. Because it means somewhere in here we've got an access, we've got references to this title. So we can expose these in exactly the same way, or we might want to change this to be like this dot pending members dot total. Or however you want to do it, but there's no need to access at the moment. This is a kind of, it's coming from map state, which is then grabbing it from the state, but we just don't need to do that anymore because you can either define like data in here, which has then got like total, I don't know whether it starts at 0 or null, per page, etc. And then when your GraphQL, your Apollo query returns, you can just kind of populate these. So you'll be getting rid of a lot of the VueX, I think.
Okay.
Does that just about, you understand like vaguely where to head?
I think so. I'll have a look back at the recording and see if I can piece those things together, but that definitely gets me going in the right direction.
Awesome. I'm happy we can always pick up again. I don't know, early next week or something, can sort of continue where we left off. But I think you can
Yeah.
polish a bit where we got to. Definitely, I think you know how to debug like what the data shape is coming back at the moment,
I
and
think
try and
so.
keep it in the same. And then it might just be kind of wiring it back up to the front end that you need a few pointers with. But again, you could always push something. And I could pull the MRA sync
Yeah,
and make a few suggestions.
that sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Lee.
Awesome. No worries. Really appreciate you working on it. As I say, even though I feel you may have
Yeah.
stitched yourself up a bit there, but enjoy the rest of your day and catch up soon.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Thank you again.
Thanks, Missy. Cheers. Bye.
Cheers.